Hey everybody, Mike Perry here, saying hi from Brooklyn, New York. I hope everyone is doing well and is safe and sound. Thank you so much for being curious and wanting to ask me a few questions. I have just some questions here from you all, and I'm just going to go through one by one, and I'll do my best to answer them. The first category is about inspiration and influences. My first question is, where do you acquire the inspiration for your work? To me, inspiration is a never-ending, long-term journey of just looking and paying attention to the things in the world, from the flowers that you see in your garden or on the street to just the way that clouds form, or the colorful outfits that a friend wears or someone on the street wears, or really just anything. And I think what it's about is just using your eyes to learn to look at things and at the world in a way that is trying to find the things that are magical or beautiful or real or sad, the thing, whatever it is that you're trying to harness, looking for those things and finding them. And then from there, you'll just be inspired. You'll see things, you'll figure out how to use that inspiration for all the time. And again, in addition to those kinds of things, like for me, I love being inspired by my creative friends. As a creative person, a lot of my friends are artists, and I love checking them out and seeing what they're doing, seeing what they're working on, seeing what their ideas are. So I would even encourage you all to just talk to each other about the things that inspire you and what motivates you, and you'll be surprised. I think it'll be a rich exchange. All right, next question. Where do you look for inspiration when you hit an art block? So art blocks are fascinating, and I try not to get bogged down by the idea of a block. I think for me, usually when I'm blocked, it means that I need to take a break. I think that provides an opportunity for me, my brain, to just say, hold on, let's just step back and reevaluate and take a moment, and then let's see if we can come up with an answer from there. So it's never, for me, I always try to embrace that. One thing I do that I love as part of my process related to being blocked or not blocked is just sometimes I look for ideas from myself from the past. So I love my sketchbooks because they provide a way for me to travel back in time to a different place, a different headspace, and if I look at a drawing from 5 years ago, sometimes I can look at it new and fresh and have new interpretations of those ideas. I often, actually, even when it comes to me as an illustrator, sometimes the answers to problems that are presented by clients or magazines or newspapers have kind of already been solved by me just being an active sketchbooker, working in my sketchbook a lot. So, great. Is there an artist or person that you may have been inspired by? If so, when did you become inspired by them, and did you ever get a chance to meet them in real life? I mean, when I was younger, when I was in high school, let's go back in the day. When I was in elementary school and middle school, I was obsessed with cartoons. I loved Looney Tunes and just all kinds of all of the 2D animation, all of those early Disney films. My phone's ringing. I'm gonna pause it. All right, sorry. So when I was younger, I was super into just cartoons in general. I loved cartoons, the old Disney things that were all handmade and beautiful. And then when I got into high school, I started painting, and I got really into oil painting, and I became obsessed with this John Singer Sargent, who is a hyper realistic portrait painter. I think I have a book of his here. So yeah, this gentleman who painted stuff like this, which I just loved. I was obsessed with it. Let me see if I can find some good and I love the way that he was capable of just creating such realism and beauty, but also being so impressionistic and loose. I just was so inspired by it. So that was what I was really obsessed with. And then I got to college, and I just kind of continued to explore the world, and I learned more about lots about different artists, and then I just kind of figured out like that I could combine my desire to be a painter and my desire to do cartoons, and kind of figure out a new way of like turning that into my language, my visual aesthetic. And then like I said earlier, just I'm so inspired by so many of my peers and friends, and so one of my great joys is that I can have like an artist like Jim Stoughton, who lives in England, who's been my friend for almost 20 years, and I love his work, and I'm so inspired by it, and I also get to talk to him. So it's pretty sick. So but I think in general, like, you know, every artist that gets deep into their work has something to share and give, and I think like it's an exciting part of being an artist, is having this perspective on life that is unique to going down a path of creativity. All right, next section is called process. Let's see here. Why did you not give up on your dream of making these pieces grow up? What made you stick with it even if it wasn't working out to start out? I'm not sure. Okay, let's think about this. Maybe it's like why did I not give up on my dream of being an artist? I mean, you know, in a way, like the only thing I was ever really good at was making art, and so I kind of only ever really wanted to do this. I've been in love with it the whole time, and I think ultimately I didn't really have another choice other than to be an artist. And I think, like, you know, if that meant that I had to live in the woods and make paintings alone in order to, and work at the grocery store in order to be an artist, I probably would have done that path. And I'm very lucky and fortunate that I'm able to make a living as an artist, and you know, like keep making every day. So let's see here. And what made me stick with it is just that I love it. I love the process. I love making in general. I think actually the act of actively making something is what I take serious joy in. And so I love the fact that I do it every day, and every day I learn more and more and more about materials, more about color, more about like viscosity of paint, and like what layering on top of layering does, and what all of these new materials do. All of it just builds into this like giant vocabulary of creativity and art making that I get to celebrate and play with. Let's see here. Is there always a purpose or laid out plan behind your artwork before you even begin, or do you just create what comes out of your mind and go with that? So for that, there's both answers are true. So sometimes I make with the intention of making something specific. I'm going to do this. I have an idea. I have a vision, and I follow that out. I sketch and I sketch and I sketch until I get the composition correct. And then other times I just make to make for no reason. And you know, they both have different processes and different rewards and different outcomes. And you know, I try to even when I plan things out, allow for a level of playfulness within the work, so that I don't let myself be like, if I drip paint on a canvas where it's not supposed to go, instead of being like bummed that I dripped the paint, I tell myself, okay, well, this is a new part of the painting to solve, a new challenge to solve. And all of that's the richness of the creative process that really kind of keeps me going. Let's see here. How did you get your artwork known? Like big companies to do partnerships with like Nike and Madison Square Garden. So you know, the relationship with these clients and these brands is just kind of a long-term like collective work, right? So it's, you know, I'm 38 years old. I have been working professionally since I was 21, and you know, over that 17 years, I've basically just been developing relationships and putting my work out there, and you know, just basically building a reputation as a trustworthy creative that can accomplish your creative problems. And you know, I think so much of it is about the work, but also it's about being a good person, being professional, being willing to collaborate. And I think those things over time just continue to build your career. So, you work with somebody at Nike when you're 22 and they're 25, and then 10 years later, as long as you kept a good relationship with them, they go work at somewhere else. Like maybe they go work at Madison Square Garden, and they're like, oh, we need an artist for this project. That's not what happened in this case, but those are the things that happen. So it's just about networking and building those relationships, and also building the work and making people like the work and know that the work is going to deliver. So when a client calls, they don't want to be concerned that you're not going to be able to deliver something that exceeds their expectations. They're going to want that. And so that's part of all of the years of practice and training and making that leads up to those moments where you're like, you have to perform this task. So one of the crazy fun jobs that happens as an illustrator is every once in a while you get a call from the New York Times, and it'll be like 11 a.m. And they'll call and say, we need an illustration. We need a sketch by 1. We need a final by 4, and final art file delivery by 4:30. And they say, can you do this or not? And you're always like, of course, but it's just like this crazy rush of project. It's like, you got to do this immediately. And for me, I think like so much of what like my practice is just training for weird moments like that, where it's like creativity, go, boom. So I love that. All right, how long does it take you to finish a new piece, and what is the most amount of time it is taking you to finish a piece? So making has all kinds of different levels of timeline, right? So sometimes things will take years to finish, and that's not because I'm working on it every day. It's because I'll work on it for a month, and then I'll just let it sit, and I'll look at it, and I'll pause, and I'll reflect on it, and then I'll paint on it for a day, and then I'll let 2 weeks go by, and then another a week of painting on it, and then back and forth. And sometimes those things just take time, and it's about layering and looking and exploring. And then other paintings I'll just sit down and do in one go, because I have a vision, it's not a big scale, and it's just about doing it. So a lot of the drawings I'm doing are about, it's just like one go. Like if it's a complicated drawing, maybe 12, 15 hours. But the thing that actually takes the most time is animation. Animation itself is just like an incredible creative time suck. All of a sudden you can lose weeks and weeks of your days just to making something move. So really, I think it just depends on what you're making and how long it's going to take. So remember, you can make something that's magical and beautiful and it takes 30 seconds, but you could also spend 20 years on a piece and always have a problem with it and want to continue to work on it. So there's all about different time scales. All right. Next section is about style. How have you developed your career as an artist? So like I said earlier, I mean, it's just about like building relationships and building the work and pushing yourself and always innovating and staying ahead of the game creatively, and to basically make sure that people know that they should call you when they have a creative problem. And then as far as like the art stuff, I think it's really just about following my ideas and my desires and dreams to just make the things that are in my head. Your art contains a lot of color. Are there any meanings or inspiration behind that? Color is my favorite. I love the power of color, and I love learning about color and learning how it works. Right now, I'm trying to use purple, because purple is a color that I don't love, but I do love it. I love it because I love all the colors, but I have a hard time with purple. So I'm actively trying to use purple as a way of learning about how to use purple. So all of these colors, I mean, I'm constantly trying to experiment with color, and I actually love trying to make something using only a certain amount of colors. So like, instead of saying like I have the rainbow, I'm going to use these 5 colors to make something and let those colors, almost like the challenge is to make those colors work. And then there's meaning behind everything, and there's meaning behind nothing. So I will let you, the user, the viewer, just determine if there is meaning behind the things. All right. What causes you to lean towards very colorful and intricate pieces of work rather than something simpler? What causes that? When I think about my childhood, I loved like weird, weird animations and weird like comics and cartoons and things that were dense and strange. I loved like things that are busy and like lots going on. Like I loved the idea of like when I was a kid, I was always jealous of the people that had like 10 TVs and they all had different things going on in them all at one time. So I think those are the things that like inherently sneak into your creativity. And I think like I always loved bright colors. Even as a kid, I just found a photo of myself when I was like 10, and I'm wearing a fluorescent green hat and fluorescent pink shorts with a striped shirt on. So I think I was already on my way to being a color joyous person. Let's see here. Oh, and as far as intricate or simple, I mean, I think I make things that are simple all the time. So I'm just trying to think. Do I have an example here? But maybe they just feel simple to me because I made them, and they're not as complex as other things. But I do like the complex. I don't know. Maybe it's just it's a need to fill spaces. Who knows? How did you create this style? Okay, you have a very unique style, especially for cartoons and characters. How did you create this style, and how would a person go about having their own unique style? So style is just about you becoming yourself in your artwork. So I think it's more about just finding a way to be comfortable with who you are. That will create your style. When you feel comfortable making the marks that you make and knowing that they're true in you, you will feel comfortable, and then your style will just evolve from that. And really, it's just about making work just all the time. And the more you make, the more you practice, the more you're basically building a vocabulary of creativity that you can use to make different things and solve different problems. And I just think like if you just make things that are true to yourself, then you're gonna find your style, and it's gonna be amazing. How does living in New York influence your work? Yeah, New York is very influential, but not in the ways of like buildings and architecture and stuff like that. For me, it's about the people and seeing neighborhoods and seeing communities and being surrounded by just humans and just how weird and fun and unique everyone is. So, and then also like everyone's just a hustler. So everyone's just working, and artists are making, and people are just inspired to just keep going. So I love that energy. All right, what do you like about being an artist? Oh man, everything. Funny enough, one of my favorite parts is that buying art supplies is a business expense for me. So, it's like I love buying art supplies. I would buy art supplies no matter what, but because I do art as a business, I can write off art supplies as a business expense because this is what I do. So I love that. That's just so fun because I love buying art supplies. I mean, there's always ups and downs to doing this as a full-time career path because you don't really have the ability to predict what your future is because you are basically reliant on yourself to figure out how to pay your bills and stay afloat. But at the same time, what I love about it is that it forces me to always be thinking about what I can do to keep being an artist, because I actually don't want to ever go. I don't ever want to not be this. I want to do this forever, and so the inspiration and the desire to just do it forever is really just the thing that makes me figure out how to pay my rent and keep making the art. So, but really the list goes on. It's like just, sitting in a field drawing in an afternoon is just like, wow, this is amazing. People like people have to search for meditation in their life, and if you can get into that, and if that's part of what your creative process is, you're just meditating already. Who was your favorite artist growing up? So I mean, Chuck Jones was the creator of Looney Tunes, so he was my favorite artist when I was a kid. And then, like I said, John Singer Sargent, who I loved when I got a little bit older and learned more about like what paintings and other things like that were. So let's see here. What is your favorite piece of artwork collaboration that you have created, and why? Does it have any hidden meanings? I would say my favorite collaboration was basically getting to work on the TV show Broad City for 6 years of my life, from the beginning of the show till the end. It was just an incredible experience. Abby and Alana were incredible bosses to be able to collaborate with, and they let me have a lot of creative freedom, and I just got to push myself and make make new and exciting things, and it just was a life game changer. So hopefully I can have many collaborations on that scale throughout the rest of my life. All right, who is your dream company, corporation to collaborate with? My dream corporation to collaborate with is a corporation that is smart and responsible and believes in the world and humanity and people, and trusts the creative process. So I don't know if those are hard to find, but that's what I would say. All right, obstacles. Was there a moment when you doubted yourself and were unsure that this was what you wanted to do for your life? No. I mean, there's lots of fear, and there's lots of there's scary moments. For me, like I said, I think earlier, was like, I think if I wasn't in New York and I wasn't making here because I couldn't afford to do it, I would just move somewhere more affordable and make art there. Which is still the game plan if I had to. So I'm on board for this. I'm doing this until I'm done. All right, let's see here. Were there any major obstacles that you had to overcome to be a designer? Yeah, that's interesting. So I'm dyslexic, and I think that's a challenging part of being a designer. There's a lot of text and like information to communicate. One of the reasons why I think I'm so interested in and dedicated to drawing type is because it allows me in my dyslexia to look at my typography as shapes and forms and not characters and letters. So I think in a way that's almost a bonus, because it like, my brain doesn't look at letters and see letters. It looks at them and sees shapes, and then I can explore that creatively. But like setting a bunch of type and like having to insert changes into documents of like with huge amounts of text, sometimes it gets a little complicated for my brain. And then it's really just learning and being dedicated to learning. So I think like the obstacles are, I mean, it seems like a lot of obstacles are things that you put into your brain to stop you. And I think like there's a will, there's a way, you can figure it out. So let's see here. When was there a moment of adversity when someone didn't like your artwork that you had to overcome and get to a place you're at today? Yeah, people don't like things all the time. This is a part of it. I mean, you can't win everybody. And my philosophy is that I'm a human, and there are other humans on the planet that have a similar thought process or curiosity that I have, and my work is going to talk to them, and it may not talk to everybody. And that's just going to be okay. And I think you just really can't be concerned, because you just can't be, and you got to make the work for yourself. And if you think it's strong and believe in it, then that's all you can ask for. So let's all just like remember that all the time. It doesn't matter. Make for yourself. Make because you believe in it. And listen, I've had plenty of even like client stuff where people have, not liked the things I've done, and it's been a complicated thing. But ultimately, with the client stuff, I think to myself, well, they're paying me, and if they're not into it, I'll just make something else. So don't stress. All right. Community. I read in an article that you like your art to interact with the community. How will this pandemic isolation change your work? Ooh, interesting. Well, I think the community thing has been quite interesting to respond to, because I am so actively interested in my actual physical community, my neighborhood. I love having events in my neighborhood because it just allows me to be an active member of my community. But I think what this pandemic is showing me is that is an important part of my creative path, but also my community is people and institutions like you all who are curious about what I'm doing and what we're making, and I'm trying to figure out this whole thing, what it is to be an artist in this thing called life. And so I've had a lot of really great opportunities just to connect via technology, which has been really interesting and fun. We're still gonna stay in touch with the community. I'm always trying to think of ways to be proactive. We actually reached out to the local school that's down the street, who I had done a mural for a long time ago, and just said, hey, things are going to be weird this summer. We'd love to come paint a mural. And they said, yes, come do it. Let's do it. So, and then they reached out to all the parents and said, hey, parents, Mike's interested in offering to paint a mural. Can you guys help raise some money to get some supplies? And then all of a sudden, through this act of painting, we're connecting the community more and more and more. So, why do you think it is that more artists do not interact with the community like you do, even though there is so much positive feedback from your neighborhood towards your artwork? I have no idea what anyone else does. Some people just don't want to do that. I think that makes sense. I'm into it. So if you're not into it, then figure out your own thing. But for me, I'm a people person. I like talking. I like meeting people. I love my neighborhood. I've been in the same neighborhood for, almost 15 years, which is the longest I've ever lived anywhere in my life. And I walk down the street and I know everybody. It's just the best. So, but that's me. I'm into that. Like, so many people aren't. In what ways would you try to increase the community interaction with art? I think just putting art in the world is a good way of doing that, and just talking about it and just being creative and just exposing people to it, So, I don't know. Let's see here. Miscellaneous. If people could take away one message from your art process, what would you want it to be? I just hope that there's a sense of curiosity and joy and wonder about the universe. That's when you look at the work that I'm making. That's my goal. How did the various shoe and skateboard companies find out about you? The internet? How does anyone find out about anything? Did you send them copies of your work, or did they see it on a billboard? No, the internet. But I do have a mailing list of people that I've reached out to and have collected over the years. So I love making posters and sending a bunch of posters to friends and brands and things like that. So actually, if you all want some posters, let me know, and I will send your teacher a box of posters to give everyone. Let's see here. Can you imagine yourself being anything besides an artist? Yes, I'm not going to be, but I'm weirdly into the idea of working in the hospitality industry at maybe a hotel. I like going back to just talking to people. I love making sure people feel comfortable and are happy. I love entertaining. I basically love creating a really positive environment for people to come and feel good. So I think that would be fun. So one of my dreams is to open an artist residency someday that will allow me to be an artist, but also to just talk to people and make sure they're comfortable and inspired in making stuff. So we shall see. Let's see here. What advice would you give to people starting off in the field of design? Let's see here. What is the advice for design? I mean, there's a grid for a reason, but, breaking the grid is okay too. What else? That was a joke answer. It's true. But, yeah, I mean, I think that the design is about communicating, and you need to think about who you're communicating to. And then once you can figure out who they are and what you're trying to say, making something for them is kind of an important part of the process. So just try to use your empathy and imagine who the person you're making for is, and then try to get in their brain. And I think that's an important part of making something for somebody else. So actually, when I was in high school, I made a lot of like mixtapes for my all of the ladies I had crushes on, and then when I got to college, I thought about my graphic design almost like trying to make a mixtape for somebody that you were trying to impress. Like I wanted these ladies to like open this present of mine and just be like, boom. And like when I think about making graphic design, that's kind of what I try to do. I kind of do that with everything. But let's see here. You mentioned how you wanted your ads to add your art to buildings. If you could have your art be displayed anywhere in the world, where would you put it? Oh man, that is a hard question. I don't know. Anywhere. I'm just grateful if anyone gives me a wall. I think that's an incredibly generous thing to have the opportunity to make art for somebody. So wherever. Okay, well that was really fun. Should I just give you a little tour real quick, just so we can just say hi? You can see everything, and then I'll say goodbye. So I'm just gonna give you a little tour. All right, I'm gonna give you a little tour. Here we go. Maybe, can I flip my camera? No. All right, well. Anyways, there's my desk. This is my wall of sketchbooks, all of that good stuff. I won an Emmy a bunch of years ago for some animation thing that I did. This is my painting wall where I paint when I'm not on the computer. This is a little sitting area where we sit and have meetings and talk. This is the kind of production space of the studio. It's a little bit messy right now because we were in transition to have a big show that we were about to open, which I'll show you. We were going to open a miniature golf course. So this is another room that's filled with stuff. And then this is the miniature golf course that I've been using to do a little talk show. But you can see we've been having fun with the miniature golf. All of the courses are weird and different and exploratory. This is where I've been doing my live call-in show. So yeah, this is the studio. It's a crazy spot. It's crazy that I get to spend every day in here. I'll walk you out. Giant speakers, painting, little hand. Okay, there it is. This was really fun. I hope everyone is well, and hit me up if you have any follow-up questions. I can just say hi and let you know. All right, be well, everybody. Peace.